Hi and welcome back to our fish tutorial. So where we left it last time, we had our fish symbol, we've got our fish body parts in the library. Okay, there is 4 body parts despite the fact that we've got 1, 2, 3 parts because we've repeated the fin here. Okay, and we've got a whole fish symbol which has everything on the stage. Now, if I drag another fish in, or drag another fish in, or drag another fish in, you can see that it doesn't do anything. We can actually clone symbols and animations and work on things multiple times. Okay, just be aware, okay, if I go in and edit any of these symbols, okay, so to go in and edit, I double click on the symbol. Okay, you can't double click outside the image, you've got to click on the picture itself. Okay, so say I move this tail, you notice both versions, the ghosted version of the other symbol there and the main one, the tail moves. Okay, so just be aware of that when you're editing things. Okay, so I'm going to delete that one and go back to having one. Now, to get into the symbol, I double click on it. To get out of the symbol, I can either double click outside of it and take me back to my scene, or the easy way is to hit scene 1 at the top here, and I can go and edit it that way. So the reason I can't click and edit within this is it's all one symbol instance. So I'm going to double click and go in and edit it. Okay, but this is where I'm going to do my animation. So this is where I introduce you to Tanya's first rule, and Tanya's first rule is very, very important. Okay, so it's something that you have to memorize. Okay, the idea is one symbol, one tween, which is the type of animation, and one layer. Okay, but there's some little shortcuts we can do to get things sorted out. And what that Tanya's first rule means is basically that any animation that you need to create within Flash, make sure that you're only dealing with one symbol on one layer and doing one animation to it initially. Okay? If you do other things, you can start breaking Flash in all sorts of nasty little ways. So we want to keep things organized and planned, and by doing it this way, you don't run into mistakes. If you start having extra symbols called tween symbols appearing to your library down there, just be aware that that will not get you a pass on any assessment, because it shows you don't follow rule 1. Rule 1, one symbol, one layer, one tween. Okay, what does that all mean when it's put together? Okay, let's put out all our symbols, our 4 symbols, because we're inside our fish symbol, and we can see, select that, our 4 symbols, onto separate layers. The easy way of doing that is to select them. Now I'm going to extend the timeline down so you can see it happen. Right click on it, and you've got options down here. Distribute to layers. Distribute to layers is the most amazing tool that's been added to Flash since the initial tween. Okay, distribute to layers saves us a lot of time. Firstly, if I click on it, it puts all the symbols on individual layers. Okay. Secondly, I'm gonna extend that out if I can select it. There we go. So you can see it names them. It names each of the layers. So we don't need to get confused over what that is. Okay, you can manually go in and change the name by double clicking and going name, but we don't need to do that. Okay, and the original layer is there as a blank layer, and you can tell that's blank because it's white with a white circle, that keyframe. So I'm going to trash that. Okay, so let's get our fish wriggling. There's couple of steps to this. Let's not stress about it too much and go ahead. So what we're going to do is have the animation of the fish just doing a single stroke. So doing the single stroke, one stroke, like that. Because what we'll do is create a cycle, and we'll learn about cycles later on, especially when we get to things more complex like walk cycles. Okay, and you'll learn to love cycles by that point. So let's go to the frame 25. Now if I click and drag down, you can see that it highlights them blue. If I click and then click and drag, it does all sorts of things. So just be aware, okay, that you may accidentally create things. If I click and drag, I can create all sorts of nasty little things going on in the scene, lose some bits and pieces. Okay, so I just want to click, drag down without selecting the blue again. Oh, auto recovery is asking. You guys might not have this depending on the version of your Flash. I'm going to enable auto recovery because it's an option available to me. So 25, frame 25, F5. F5 creates all those frames and extends the animation out to a second. You can tell that it's a second because we're 25 frames per second, and if I slide out to the 25th frame, 1 second out. Okay, and it's timed like that. Okay, I can play the animation by hitting this play button. Now if you don't have that, just need to play or press enter on the keyboard. Okay, if you want it to loop playback, you can do that from the control menu as well. Okay, so at the moment we don't have any animation, so it doesn't matter what I'm playing. Okay, now frame 1 to 25, let's animate the body first. Actually, let's animate the tail first, because the tail is the identifiable bit that everyone realizes will swim. So what the tail is going to do, it's going to flip back and forth for us and do a little bit of a twist animation. Okay, so I'm going to do it in a couple of stages, and it's going to come back to frame 1. So with the tail, making sure I click on it, right layer, there we go. I'm going to press F6 on frame 25, and that changes that square. Now the square means nothing. A square is just a terminator telling us this frame here ends on frame 24, and a new frame starts on frame 25, and that new frame, keyframe, is a black dot. Okay. We want to do the same thing on frame 13. F6. See, the terminator appeared. Okay. And we want to do the same things on frame 7, F6, and frame 19. Okay. All those frames will mean something, so remember those numbers. I'll explain what they mean as we get further down the track, but the numbers are important. Okay, frame 1, frame 7, frame 13, frame 19, and frame 25. A lot of our cycles will be 1 second cycles that we can repeat, and those numbers will pop up all the time. Okay, so I'm going to make the tail look like it's swinging towards us. So I'm going to use my free transform tool. I'm going to squish it in. And I'm going to stretch it up. Okay. Then on frame, this is on frame 7, sorry. Well, I should clarify that. So on frame 7, click on the frame, in to about 2/3 of the width, and stretch it up a little bit. Okay. Then I'm going to go to frame 19 and I'm going to stretch it in and I'm going to shrink it down a little. Okay, so what I'm going to get is sort of a scaling thing that looks like the fish is flipping its tail back and forth. Very cool. So select, once you've got that, you can select that layer, right click and create classic tween. We'll always be using classic tweens for the moment. Okay, the other sorts of tweens don't allow us to animate in this style. Okay, so just get used to using classic tween. And if I press enter, there you'll notice Flash smooths the animation out for us. I can still go back to those keyframes and tweak them a little. I think it might be a little bit too big. To get that happening. There we go. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. So the fish body has to be tweaked now. So I'm going to go to this layer. Okay. I might lock the other layers so I don't accidentally grab any objects on them. I'm just going to do the same keyframes. So F6, shortcut key, F6, shortcut key, F6, F6. Okay. Now the body is going to stretch out and then squish in. So I'm going to stretch it out just a tiny bit and I'm going to squish it down. This is on frame 7. Then on frame 20 I'm going to squash it in and stretch it up in the opposite direction. Same thing, select the layer, right click, create classic tween. Animation's done for us. So the tail's flipping. Tails still a bit off for me, so I'm going to tweak that back. That's a bit better. And you can see the body undulates as the fish wiggles. Okay, so then we're going to move the fins. Okay, and the fins are done in the same way, but we're going to do them one at a time. Okay, so first of all the front fin, that's the topmost layer. Okay, going to lock the other layers. Okay, frame numbers, F6, 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 and F6 on frames 1, 7, 13, 19, and 25. Okay, so as the fish dives forward, okay, you'll notice that the body squishes and the fin goes down. So I want the fin starts off just underneath the gill there. So I'm going to move it back to that spot. So just move it just underneath. But he's also pushing forward, so I'm going to flip the fin up that way. And on frame 20, when he's squishing back, move it down. Okay, and I'm just going to rotate it forward a little bit. So it's in the right spot. And if I tweak that, classic tween, you can see that all ties together. So I'll do that again. F6 on frame 25, F6 on frame 19, F6 on frame 13, and F6 on frame 7. Okay. On frame 7, I move the fin up and forward and rotate it around. On frame 19, I move the fin down and rotate it forward. And then I'll select the layer, right click and create classic tween. And if I press enter, you can see that the fish does the action that I want it to. Cool thing about doing this all inside a symbol, okay, and the last thing we'll do in this little tutorial is to go back to our scene, okay, and we'll extend the timeline. I'm going to click on frame 50 there and press F5, just add frames in, because if I add that, you can see that the fish does its thing in the screen. Okay, cool thing about this, okay, is that fish hole is actually animated. And you can put multiple animated fish on the timeline. Okay, so I'll let you go and have a play around with that, and then I'll come back in a short amount of time just to show you a couple of cool little things that you can do with these fish.